got to watch the sale. Literally sat down, and they were like 30 seconds later they started running animals through. That was a really, really good sale. Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Ohrmundt Simmentals. All right, Saturday morning. It is actually opening day of gun deer season in Wisconsin. I am not out. Haven't gone for a few years. Just haven't gotten as excited about it the last couple of years as I normally, or as what I used to when I was younger. But it's still a big, huge weekend in Wisconsin. The other thing that's going on today is it is actually Stanley Martin's female sale, his fall female sale. This video ain't coming out for probably 3 or 4 weeks, but I know they had a great sale. I'm gonna watch it, at least most of it, try to watch most of it, but I know it's gonna be a good sale, good animals. And if you weren't able to watch the sale and you're still interested in just getting some info or something about his herd, his genetics, possibly acquiring some, I'll try and put a link in the description for his website. His contact info is all on his website. His email and all that stuff. He's a really good guy to work with. And yeah, and there's also information about some of his genetics, past herd sires, things like that on there. So yeah, take a look at that and contact him if you have any questions about his animals. For today's adventures, so a little bit later start. This morning we ran to Marathon Custom Meats. Had to pick up a half of beef. Got home about half hour ago, got that sorted out, and 1/4's in my freezer, 1/4's in my parents' freezer. So yeah, that was pretty nice. And then Dad also set up some dates, started setting up dates for next year. He was able to get a November slot. Unfortunately, they're booked for December. And part of that is because they do handle so many deer processing that they really limit all the other processing. So it's kind of tough to get in December. And I think then we have a January, and then we know we're going to have a February date, but she only let her calendar go out like to the middle of February 2027 because she said, admittedly, she's like, I don't want to admit that I'm actually booking out to next February, which I get too, you know, because the further you book out and you're making a date, you're setting a date for your customer, it's a little risky. So I understand that. But the next time we bring in an animal, which will be early January, we're going to polish off and fill up the rest of our dates that we need. So on the list for today, now that we got the beef out of the way, we do need to grind corn, which also means we need to go down to the pit and grab the 2940, which has patiently been waiting for us to come pick it up. With the picker, we'll kind of hose that off, clean that up a little bit. Really just need to spray it off with the air spray and clean that up a little bit, and we'll probably just park it right away where it needs to go. And then we're going to grind corn, and we need to pull out this first wagon, but it looks like there are a couple of low tires on that wagon. So we do have a remote air tank, but I need to get this thing started, this air compressor. And this thing does not like the cold. That was way better than I thought. And then this weekend's probably like the last weekend before we hit some really low temps. Be nice to be able to get some equipment cleaned up and put away. So that's kind of on the agenda for the weekend. Picker is home, so there isn't a whole heck of a lot we do to this thing to put it away, but we just more or less will go in and just kind of like up there, we'll clean that out, kind of blow a lot of stuff off. I mean, there's so much galvanized sheet metal on this thing that there's not a whole lot you really need to do. And all the important stuff is either covered, most of it's covered in nice shields and stuff, so it's pretty weatherproof. So I'm going to start this thing up and let it run for a few minutes because there's a lot of stuff that falls into the husking bed. in here, like all this garbage up in here. So what'll happen is those rolls will suck it down into the bottom. And there is actually an elevator chain down here, and it'll pull all the trash this way and it'll fall down on the ground. So we'll get a little bit of a pile here, but that's all right. That's kind of how it's supposed to work. And grinding, fall grinding number 2. We are a little light on our mix. We forgot to grab some more. It won't be it'll be like, so we normally do a 3 bags per hopper full. Now it'll probably be a 2 2 1. So I think that's how it works out. Not a huge deal. We'll be a little light, not a big deal. A little lower protein level, but only a little bit, just a tick. So we didn't quite fit in the bin, so overflow goes back in the gravity box. And I recounted, there was a bag snuck underneath another one I didn't see. So we were only technically a bag short from our mix, so not so bad. All right, we are back out from lunch break. Got to watch the sale, literally sat down, and they were like 30 seconds later, they started running animals through. That was a really, really good sale. So congratulations, Stanley and everybody at Golden Dawn Farms. That was a really, really nice sale. Really nice prices. I told Dad if anything goes for like less than 5,500 or less, I would have been upset, because that would have been my price range. And there were a couple. There were maybe 3 or actually four or five. There were a couple older cows. And when I mean older, I think one was 13. I think she went for like 35 or something like that. One heifer brought like 25,000. That was, she was sharp. Very, very nice. And genetics too was really nice. She was out of the dam was Miss Moses, that we actually got to watch sell when we bought Barb a couple years ago. And she was an extremely good cow. And unfortunately, I think there's quite a few people there that I knew that I'm mostly Facebook friends with, and have never met in person. So it would have been neat to see some of them, but someday. And I know a few of them purchased some animals. So I always find it neat even if they are just people that I know on social media, but I've interacted with them on there. There's quite a few of them I've asked questions and things like that, and they've been very helpful. Yeah, guys. Just checking out your situation. I always like to see where some of these calves and cows end up going. For one reason, I do know that some people only deal in 100% Fleck. So if I know that a certain individual purchased an animal, it also confirms that that animal was 100% Fleck, because that's all they deal in. So I know I do a lot of searching and trying to vet animals too if I'm looking at them. It's always nice to get confirmation from somebody else that they've kind of done their homework too, and it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's 100% Fleck too. So, oh well. But great sale, fun to watch. That's what I geek out on sometimes. I just like watching sales, especially if it's Simmentals and something I can actually get into. What we're doing now is we're pulling the yeah, and that's our leaf blower. So we got one of those guys. I blew it off when we were done using it, but we want to clean it up a little bit nicer before we store it away. We might actually put it up in the barn somewhere here and put a tarp over it, because we got the space, just we don't want it to get crapped on all the time. But what we're doing is the gravity box that was sitting over here, we're gonna put that one over here because the chopper needs to go over here. Cows get 2 bales today on the 1212. We've been able to do that. Here is our Norma Jean. So this is the one lost mom to lightning, and then she's also the one that had a sore front foot, and we darted her a couple weeks ago, and she's pretty much recovered from that. She kind of hangs out by herself anyway. She kind of always has, and maybe that's just from losing her mom kind of thing. But she's doing all right. I think they unlocked that gate on me again. Ever since we put the new pen in here, they stick their nose through there and they play with that latch. They lick it, they rub it with their nose, and they push it open. I've watched them do it. They were playing around with it last year once, and I just sat there and watched, and sure enough, they push it, pops right open. So, little bastards. Good morning. All right, we are out and running here, just checking bunks. So these guys still have a little bit. We gave them a little extra than we normally do. These guys scarf theirs down. They need to get bedded today, and these guys did really well, so that's cool. Well, we finally got the 44 started. We've kind of been having that issue this fall when we started doing, not when we shredded stalks, but for some reason when Dad wanted to go and bale stalks, he had to jump it. Then another time when we wanted to move it, we had to jump it. And then now today we had to jump it. So the baler is all blown off, but you can obviously see we got some grit and grime on here. I might spray in this cavity. But I'm leery of this, so might not do a whole lot in this cavity. All right, so we went with the Slick brand. Watched a couple of videos, and this stuff got pretty good reviews as far as, you know, just ease of use, cost effective, quality of clean, all that kind of stuff. And honestly, since I've never used one of these before or any of these products, just buying one that has ridiculously high reviews with a good rating is a good place to start. And then the pack I got came with the cannon and the bottle. All right, so it says 2 to 4 ounces, which I'm just gonna figure that a cap full is an ounce, and just go like, I don't know, 3. We'll cut the difference into here, and then fill remaining space with water. Pretty simple. So I told Dad I need to find a better way to measure that stuff out, so I know that I'm getting the right amount of soap. But this side, so it's been like 5 or 6 minutes since I sprayed it, especially the outside panel. You can see the suds are still kind of holding on. So that's why I think I got to work on. I didn't really read the directions either, so I don't really do that. But it's playing, it's figuring it out. So now we're gonna switch to the tip. I don't usually do a fine tip anyway, so it's not a big deal, and we'll hose this off and see what it looks like. It's gonna be better than not being hosed off. So I don't think that did too bad of a job. Like I said, I gotta get a better method for measuring, and I think I'm gonna try and figure out what I need as far as like a syringe. I think that would make things a lot easier. All right, after further review, I had way less fluid in there than I should have. because it says 2 to 4 ounces. Well, like 4 ounces is like 118 milliliters. It does have milliliter marks on here in increments of 100. So we're gonna redo this and see what the foam looks like this time. Yeah, because I definitely want to see what it. That was dumb. I should have did a little more research. I should have read the directions. People, read your directions. That's what I was hoping for. I should have looked at that a little better. I don't read directions. Who does? Who actually reads the directions, right? So now I'll start rinsing off the baler and then I'll move on to the tractor. The 44 needed a bath anyways. So I wish I would have had that foam set up right the first time. It would have been so much nicer. Because that stuff would have stayed on for 10 minutes. And honestly, I would have let it. Tractor? Like these wheels, we put so much oil and like penetrating oil and stuff on when we're trying to get the stupid duals on. Don't really care what they look like. The rest of the 44 needed at least some kind of a bath. Do I think it did a great job? I think it helped. I definitely think it helped. I'd say probably at least I'd give it, like a 4 out of 5. As an aid. If I wouldn't have screwed up in the first place, it probably would have been better. Is it perfect? No. But is it way better than what we normally would have done? Because I just would have sprayed it off with water and that would have been it. Wouldn't have used any soap. The soap will help break down some of the grime and just help get more junk off. Well, it's been about 45 minutes to an hour. So kind of get an idea of how good of a job I actually did. And yeah, it's okay. All right, per the usual, Dad's gonna bring it up here and we're gonna put it down here. I just gotta make sure I got some 2x laying down. I put that 6x6 in, back in downstairs. We just wanna make sure we have everything covered. All right, time to clean out the chopper. The hard part is always this auger section. And then you want to stay away from that. But we like to get some water in there to get it cleaned out. So now we'll start flushing it or hitting it with the pressure washer. So chopper is put away, which is nice. I got to start cleaning up the pressure washer, and looks like Dad is going to clean out bale feeders. There's a little bit of hay in the bottom of these guys. Oh, they opened the gate for me again. It was locked yesterday. Yeah, this was closed yesterday. I had it locked. One way we deal with having to feed out of here, we just fill up the big bucket with the number of buckets we need. Right now, we're just kind of estimating to get that wagon done. And we just put a bunch in here and Dad'll sift it out. As long as he doesn't run into me, but that's my job, Dad, his way. So it's not really accurate. We're just going for a nice coating And then the rest will go for these girls right here. It actually turned out to be a really, really nice day. It was like sunny all day. Temps really aren't that bad. The 23rd of November, can't complain. Yeah, it's a little heavy, but that's all right. I'll spread some out. We got to get some to the end of this bunk anyways, so that everybody can eat on this group, on the main group. So to end our day and our weekend, I'm going to try and get some of one of my later jobs, and this is one of those that gets postponed later and later and later, is our temp fence along the lane, and then right here. So I got to get the stuff picked up, especially on the lane for plowing. Got the post pounder for the T-posts, and I should be able to get these other little angle iron posts out. I got all the posts but this one. I could not get that one, and I even have the post pounder to do the post pounder trick where you stick it in upside down and you put the round part on the notches, and then you pry, and they usually just, they come right out. That sucker is in there. So we'll grab that with the Mahindra in the next couple of days. I'm gonna drive down to the other end. I got the reel because I was smart enough this year, but kind of got forced into it. Now, if you guys remember back in the spring when I set this up, I could not for the life of me figure out how the heck I wrapped up the last cord or string that I had down there, the temp line, because it instantly turned into a rat's nest. Instantly. So I don't know what the heck I did. So, and right before that, I had said, hey, remind me, put this thing on a reel so I don't have to worry about this next year. Well, that incident pushed me to put it on a reel. And then what I did, so I just left a hook here, or a loop, and this loop we actually would put on one of the posts so that we could bring the cows back and forth. So this one actually just ended up staying here all summer long. Now I just have to untie this, and then I'm going to tie that onto that loop, and I'm going to wrap the sucker up. And this one, oh, this one is not geared. Oh well, it's better than, it is better than what I was doing. Well, that wraps up that job, and that's just another one off the list. Yeah, so it was pretty darn decent weekend. You know, we got grinding done. We got probably our two main pieces of equipment that needed to get cleaned up. Well, actually three, because we did clean up the picker. That's a good blow off. Getting the baler put away and cleaned up and put away, getting the chopper cleaned up and put away. That was really nice. Trying out that foam cannon. I think it helps. Is it the end all be all? Is it awesome? I would just say it's nice having. Am I gonna keep using that one? I wouldn't mind using just trying like straight Dawn dish soap. I'd read some people just use that, and some other stuff. I got the foam cannon. I don't really need that anymore. So maybe trying out some other products or something. You never know. See which one I like better. End of the day, end of the weekend, end of the video. Hope you guys liked the video. Please hit that thumbs up button on your way out. If you got any questions, please leave them in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Help us get to our goal of 2,000 subs. And as always, thanks for coming along.